Tracy Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
Yeah.
He's
All
not
right.
in.
Well, let's get started. Welcome to Trace Amigos. I think this is episode 5. We're going to go over Bowling Green's game, and then we're going to look forward to cooking some bacon this weekend in Dallas. So, welcome to Trace Amigos. I'm Matt Fomer, have a Rollo insurance agency in here in Hallsville. Said Drennan will be on shortly. He has an agency in Gilmer, and Mark Brown has an agency in Carthage. We're all former high school coaches, some of us a little more successful than others. Mark will be sure to tell you who the most successful one was out of the three of us. But I'm going to give you a little heads up, guys. I know everybody wants to save a buck when they can on insurance with rates going up. But I just want to caution anybody listening to this. I'm not saying you got to do insurance with me, but you need to find somebody that you feel comfortable with, that when you pick up the phone and call them, when you're on the side of the road or you got a busted pipe in your house or whatever the situation may be, that when you pick up that phone and you call them, you feel comfortable they're going to pick up and be able to help you. So that's my advice. Don't use the 1-800 numbers. Don't use the online service, because when you really need that insurance and you need that agent's help, you're going to have a hard time getting it at that point. So find somebody local that you can walk in their office or pick up the phone and call and try to use somebody local. So that's just my shout out today. Seth, tell them a little bit about yourself.
My name is Seth Drennan, 16 years as a high school football coach. Like Matt said, some coached in different levels. I coached at the Bowling Greens of East Texas High School. So I really am endearing to that staff, because I've been in many a game like that where you have schemed up everything to win the game, and the other team's just that much better than you. And one score, it's a moral victory, kind of. You hate to say that term, but like, I am excited to track Bowling Green the rest of the season, just because I think they're going to be pretty good in the MAC. Anyway, got off the beaten path there. I'm going to echo what Matt says, but also kind of talk to you about, like, if we're coaches, so coaches have a tendency to not really sugarcoat and give you the truth, whether you're whatever it is, and so that's one of the things I think you need in this insurance market. Like Matt said, this insurance was never designed to be picked up off of a shelf like you do a toothbrush at Walmart. Buy it, go home with it, and then if it doesn't work, you have to call 1-800 Sonicare or whatever. That's going to be a bad situation. It's too expensive for that too. And so having a human that'll answer the phone and somebody that'll coach you, because there are things you can do to improve your insurance premiums over time via various things. But I talked to people. What prompted me to bring this up was I talked to somebody this weekend on a Saturday. Coaches used to work on Saturday. I was talking to a high school coach, actually. And that's the only time he had available to talk, was Saturday evening. And, I said some things to them about how insurance works, and they said, never knew that. And this is a pretty sharp guy. And it just reminded me that, there is a lot out there that's you're going about your life not thinking about it. That's our job. Our job is to think about that, inform you of the trends that are happening, keep you up to date, make sure we're fighting to find you the best price out there, the best coverage at the best price. So that's what we kind of take that approach of being a coach. If you give us a call, we'll coach you on what's the best way to go forward with your insurance. And I mean, that's just how we're wired anyway, us three coaches that are now doing this. So go ahead, Mark.
Well, I'm Mark Brown. I coached for 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know who the most successful coach was, but we're all successful in our own way. I coached 20 years. A lot of those years at a little school in East Texas called Carthage, won 9 state championships in the last 16 years. I was part of 5 of those, I think. Sell insurance here in Carthage now. And in the East Texas area here, I would just stack on what they said. The key to insurance at this point is the market is crazy, and you need an advocate on your side to not only coach you and teach you and to help you with customer service. I think that's what we offer. I think that's we have a mom and pop type handshake tradition here in the Rollo office, but we do it with a corporate infrastructure of over 200 carriers where we can find the insurance that you need, whether it's for your horse, whether it's for your health, whether it's for your home and your auto, whether it's for your commercial business. We can write all of it, and we want to partner alongside you and become your insurance advocate and advisor. That's what I want. It's about building relationships. That's the number one reason we all got into coaching. These were just extra, the cherry on top. The big thing about it is all these rings that I have. I can name multiple players here that I still have relationships with, and that's the same thing in the insurance business. We want to develop a relationship with you so that you can get your insurance, but at night you can sleep because that you got a guy, that you got an office, that you got people that are going to take care of you and care about you. And that's who we are in Carthage. And that's what we want to do for you.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'm not sure which was glistening more, those rings or your bald head in that light. So, but starting out like we always do, we want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. My good this week, we've talked the last couple of weeks about the run game and averaging over 300 yards a game and how well the running backs are doing and the O-line's doing on the run game. I want to focus on something that maybe goes overlooked, and it's our running backs picking up blitzes. A big issue under the prior regime was the attack that the quarterback felt like they were on right from the beginning, and everybody says that's 100% on the O-line. But they don't realize how important that running back or your tight end or whoever you have back there picking up the blitzes is to that. And so we're going to show a quick clip. This is the first drive here. If you can back it up a little bit from the beginning and pause it at the very beginning.
Yeah, it should start right over.
Okay, pause it right there for me. You pause it or
okay.
There you
go. Yeah.
So you got Daniels back here in the backfield. You've got 3 down. You got 2 guys that could be coming off the edge, and you got your Mike here. You're not sure if he's coming, whatever. And he's a headhunter. He's trying to make sure that anything slips through, gets picked up. Go ahead and hit play. And the thing is, you got to square them up. And a lot of times these guys are bigger than those running backs, and it's not always a fun thing to do as a running back. But this guy comes through and watch Daniels. I mean, his face mask ends up right in that linebacker's chest. He squares him up, and that linebacker has nowhere to go, has no success on his blitz. So unbelievable job, and this is just one of the many times they did this throughout the night. So that's what I wanted to focus on is everybody thinks a running back, all that matters is how many yards they got, touchdowns, all that. But that's huge right there. If he doesn't pick up that blitz, so there's no way that Reed is able to make that throw and get that completion. So that's my good for the evening. Seth, what you got?
I'll always get I have a few, but man, that was great to see from Amari Daniels. And I'm going to let that play. And it's like that throw from Marcel, this was the first drive of the game. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to that here in just a second. But we will see here. Let me get that presenting knocked off. All right. So first off, we'll give props to the Bowling Green coaching staff. I've coached in several places where most of the time you were playing a team that was way more athletic than you. You had to find every inch you could, it really makes you take kind of like, hey, look, we got to do this stuff to win the game. We got to get a couple of these things to happen to win the game. And they almost did it. I mean, they got the reverse to hit for a touchdown. They created a coverage bust. What I loved about their offensive philosophy was it was like, good luck defending our tight end. We have every way under the sun to get him the ball in his hands, whether it be to rub him open with we'll use the whole receiving core is like, hey, we know we got to let Fannin catch the ball to have a chance to win. So they rubbed with. I mean, they were really good at rubbing. What I mean by rubbing is using another receiver to basically do a basketball kick to the defender that was covering Fannin, and they did that multiple times to get him open and overthrew him one time. It would have been a touchdown. Anyway, they created a coverage bust with a combination route. I just kept seeing all these little things that a coaching staff can do with motion, screens, etc. to get the playmakers you've got. You've got this guy who's an NFL top tight end. Get the ball in his hands any way we can, and I mean. Look, that guy's gone for like 25 catches combined against Penn State and us at Texas A&M. So against one of the best Big Ten programs, and we like to think one of the better SEC programs. I can't wait to see what he does at the MAC this year. That's gonna be fun to watch. So I'm excited to kind of follow Bowling Green over the next the rest of the season with the MAC, and especially when that Tuesday night football starts happening when baseball season ends. Hope they have some of those games to watch. They did have 2 weeks to prepare, and that kind of showed too. They had a bye week right before, and you got a coaching staff like that with one extra week to watch film, they're going to find it. The onside kick that they tried is one we used to work religiously at Harmony. Shout out to Coach Dimon and I for probably the extra 20 hours of work we put in over about 3 or 4 seasons trying to execute that onside kick, and we got it a few times over the years at Harmony, where you're basically just kicking a pass to your outside outside kickoff lane guy because we're leaving a gap over there. I mean, they saw it on film and said, "Hey, this is a pretty small margin of error, but we got to shoot our shot here and try and get it." Kicker was a little amped up, kicking in front of 100,000 people, and overshot it. If that kicker kicks it about 5 foot lower, they got the ball right there. And that possession may have been the one that changed the whole game. You don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I really appreciate coaching staffs that know that coach that way, especially when they're playing on the road in an SEC program. Why not? Doing it by the book and everything. Like, go after it and try to get it. So shout out to the Bowling Green coach. Also, that tight end, he's only a junior. And I checked some NFL draft mock stuff. He's not even on there. Now, this is week 4 or game 4. I imagine by the end of the season, if he's got a 100-catch season with 1,200 yards receiving, he's probably going to shoot up some draft boards. But
no, what he really should do is go ahead and get in the portal, and we'll give him a call for next season.
That's right. Hey, Elko's pulled that lever at Bowling Green, getting Cassius Howell here, their best defensive player from last year. So I'm like, can he do it for offense? Because I'm telling you, put a guy like that in Klein's offense, because that's a huge deal. If you watch their offense last year, 34 for Kansas State, who ended up being a draft pick this year and was an unrated high school prospect. So has kind of a similar grind up as the Fannin guy has at Bowling Green. He was a dude. Like he was a huge cog in that offense. He bailed them out all the time to get first downs. They threw him screens, and tight end screens are hard to defend. It's just because tight ends just get lost so easily in coverage because of with their playing in line. All right, let me get off of Bowling Green for a second. Let's go to Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed's going to show up in the good and the ugly. Okay, because there were parts of him that were really good, and then there's parts of him that are ugly. And we'll talk about the ugly when we get there. Let's focus on the good right here. Throwing crossing routes, out routes, quick game that he does it like you're supposed to, hits the back foot and lets the ball out. That curl route you just saw him throw. It was a tale of two. All curls, by the way, is one of Klein's staple passing games. Whether it's curl flat or all curls, whatever. 5 to 8 times a game, there's going to be curls thrown. I mean, and there were times in that game where he did it exactly like that one right there you saw early in the game, where he threw the ball on time and hit it right where it needed to be. He did a great job. And then parts of the game, he kind of got lost with his mechanics, which, as you guys know, as a former coaches, I think his mechanics got off this game so bad because his head was spinning, because they threw so much of the passing game at him. At the Florida game, they went in there with a small package, maybe 30% of the offense, seriously. And Klein just kind of dressed it up with motions and shifts so it looked a little more complex. But he didn't have much on his plate at the Florida game, and you could tell that they filled his plate up for this one. And you have to do that. You have to figure out what can these kids do. And so now Klein's job is this week he's got to go in there and say, we're scrapping this and we're keeping this because he did not do this well, so why should we ask him to do that? Or that's what you should do if you're an offensive coach, and I'd like to think that's what Klein is going to do. Previous staff, probably not. They probably would have said, this is our offense, he needs to go execute, and would have just kept throwing him out there doing it. So I'm interested to see what they get rid of and what they keep. If I'm in their shoes, what I'm keeping is RPOs, throwing the flat routes in the RPOs like they did on the 4th down play to Bussy. They did it late on a tight end flat. Crossing, I would put a crossing route on every drop back and play action concept. A shallow crossing route of some kind. He sees them and he throws them. I would get rid of the running back check down. All right, I'll get to that in a minute, but I'll throw it. It's a complete waste with him. His check down is running. And so you utilize that. One of the things that they did, and I wish I had a clip of it, but I don't. It's too late to try and pull it up, is that I saw Klein do was 2 times they ran all curls. They also tagged it with a quarterback draw. 2 plays that were big positive plays. And to me, that was awesome to see because that was Klein giving us a glimmer of, let's just use this guy's strengths. He sits that back foot. He likes the curl. He throws it. If the curl's not there, he takes off, and now he's got a guard and a running back leading for him instead of just sending the running back out to the flat where he's never going to throw it to him anyway. And so I was happy to see that, and I would love to see him tag that draw to more of the more downfield concepts like curl flat or post wheel or things like that. Where if he doesn't like what he sees, timing wise, let's take off and put some blockers in front of him. And it's funny because he's really good at throwing the one ball, which is that laser you saw him throw at the curl, and the three ball, which is the post you saw him throw to Thor. And for those that don't know, this is quarterback terminology. A one ball is a fastball. Throw it on a straight line, straight eye to eye. A three ball is the deep ball with a lot of air under it. And the two ball is the special one. It's hard. It's the hardest one to learn as a quarterback, where it's got to have enough juice that it gets there fast, but it's got to go over a defender. And that's the ball that's going to go be a part of the ugly when we get down there to what Marcel doesn't do well. And so sometimes he has trouble figuring out which one to throw, and he'll try to throw the one ball when it should be a two. And anyway, that's something that I know he's a coach's son. He knows these things, and he's getting coached on them. So that's what's exciting about it, was you could see the struggle. If you watch the passing game from play one to end, you could see the he would go to the sideline and get coached on something. He would come back out, his head would be spinning, he would get lost, and all of a sudden he would short back up and have a streakiness, a streak of good throws and doing what you're coached to do. And then so that's just part of it. And sometimes these things aren't like a light bulb. We always say the light bulb comes on. Sometimes it's a very slow push up on a dimmer switch. It's not light bulb like, aha, riding a bike. Football a lot of times is more like that dimmer switch, little by little, and then all of a sudden you look back after 6 weeks later and go, dude, remember where we were the Florida week? He couldn't even run 30% of the offense, and now he's out there executing pretty well. So Marcel's, that's what he had a lot of good in this game. I know continue to talk about a lot of good in this game. And then Jabray Barber, kid just jumps off the tape, man. Like when you watch him run routes, you see him do the little things like blocking on. He had a great block on Trey Watson's RPO, a little flat route that he ran, got us 7 or 8 yards. He's. I have a feeling that when it's all done and said, that cat's gonna be. I don't know if he'll be at the top, but it wouldn't shock me at all at the end of the season he ends up being leading receiver at all. So he's still coming back to speed from the foot injury. So very excited about his future. He has a lot of juice. And then finally, we did get a decent rub route. I've been griping to people I know that we don't do it worth a crap, and we try. And I mean, that's just part of it, it's different live bullets. And we did. Noah Thomas ran a tremendous rub late in the game when we tried to throw the rail route down the sideline to Armani. And it was a bad throw. And Armani would probably tell you, I have a feeling I know what type of kid Armani would say, I should have caught that ball as well. But man, that guy was wide. Armani was wide open because Noah he ran right into the linebacker, picked him as good as you can just about do it because he was showing his hands. So it was a legal play. I know you defensive guys don't think, but it was a legal play by the Bulls. And anyway, and we haven't been doing that. A lot of times we just miss. It's like we don't understand what we're trying to do. And Noah, so I saw some things from Noah, and I'll talk about him later. So we'll pause there. That was my good. Sorry, got long-winded like you, but anyway.
That's all right, man. That's all right. So we're going to stay on the offense. I'm going to go to my bad. So we've talked about the run game, and Moss has done a great job all year. He's a hard runner. He's physical, all those things. He does a great job. What I would like to see out of this guy is just more patience, allowing your pullers to get where they need to be, seeing the hole. Sometimes I feel like he just ducks his head and runs as hard as he can. And I love that physicality, but he's missing some cuts and some runs that were there Saturday night. I'm going to pull one up here, if you would, that film on the counter F. So you can see here we got the tight end in the back coming across, pull the guard, and if you run it back again, let it run through and pause it right there. All right. Back it up just a hair. Right there. So you can see here, there's a hole right here. Yeah, you're going to run into that guy, but I'll take my chances one-on-one with it. I think that's the safety there. I'll take my chances one-on-one. He probably runs through that arm tackle and hits his head on the goalpost. But he's just he's like Mark said, he got impatient. This is the tight end that came across, and he was right on his butt, and it's almost like he wants to run that tight end over instead of letting him kick that guy out, see where the hole is, and go. And so I think Moss can have some big, big runs, and I think his impatience is what's keeping him from having those longer runs. Because he's having positive yards because the son of a gun is just tough as nails and doesn't mind running over folks. But he's got to be more patient, let those pullers pull, or even there's some zone plays I should have pulled up that you can see he just gets impatient and trying to hit the hole so fast and so hard instead of allowing his blockers to do their job and then sticking his foot in the ground and getting north. So that was my bad. Not that I think he did a terrible job. I just think the kid is missing some opportunities to have a special season if he'll just settle down a little bit and be a little more patient. So, Seth, what was your bad?
Yeah, I would love to honestly see, and they did it. They did it quite a bit at Kansas State, and it's in Colin Klein's DNA to occasionally get in some eye formation, let Moss run out of the eye. Maybe just some power where it hits a little quicker, whatever. And so that would. And I mean, look, and Marcel keeping that on a naked boot. I know it's not as dynamic as RPO and read game, but I'm not saying base out of it, but that would be. I think Moss could benefit from some of that as well. He did great on that. My bad is which I kind of cop out, and I use this as my TBD, my to be determined, is Noah. Noah Thomas was really close to having a breakout game. I'm using that dimmer switch analogy again. I hate to give up on the kid because he's got so many tools. Haven't seen it yet. And in this game, I saw a few things that gave me okay, I think the ball may be coming on a little bit, but it's still pretty dim. And there were 3 plays that if these 3 plays, even if only 1 or 2 of these 3 plays have the outcome it could have had, we're talking about a potential breakout game for the guy. And I got film on those. And there's a combination of fault to go around. It's not just his fault on some of them. But let's see here. Is this?
I really think what you were saying about power and counter, Daniels is a counter back, Moss is a power back.
Exactly. Yes.
I like that idea though of the power downhill quick hit.
It very rarely gets ran. I mean, the counter is all of the rage these days.
In the NFL, it's power.
Yep. And they like the counter because all the rage because of the timing aspect of the RPO game you have. So then that becomes let's see if this is it. Oh, this is it. Pause it here, mute it. Okay, I'm going to start back up. So we'll start here with the one that is Marcel's fault. Noah ran a great route, and this is what I'm talking about where Marcel doesn't know how to throw the right ball. This was a touchdown. And I know where this was on one of those series where Marcel's head was spinning a little bit. And what happened was, if we run it back to right here, you'll see they're playing pre-snap. It looks like they're playing their standard 4 across the board look, but they did a lot of games with the safeties where they would have one rob and one play, and then it looks like cover 3. And so you could see Marcel's little freak out moment right when he goes to throw this right here. He's freaking out because he's like, where's that other safety? So he's worried that other safety is maybe over here, and he's like, I got to fit this in this little bitty window. But really the throw was the grass throw. Put some air under it, way out there. Chunk it 50 yards in the air, tons of air, and let Noah go run under it. And that's probably a 60-yard touchdown catch for Noah. So, and you could see the look on Noah's face after he knew. I mean, he's like, oh, there was my chance for one of my big plays that didn't quite happen. Not really his fault. Good route. He got himself open. All right. The next play is it's not really this one. I'm kind of got to blame on. This was mostly Noah's fault. I coached a kid at Pine Tree one time who was 6'5", great basketball player, could get rebounds all day on the floor, but I could never get him to go up and get a ball the right way. I worked and worked and worked. Maybe I'm just poor coach and couldn't get it done. But if you look at the end zone view, you'll see his body lean backwards. That is not how you need to go get a jump ball if you're 6'5". You should not be jumping passively into the way the ball's thrown. You got to be sticking a foot in the ground and going back into the ball like you're playing safety or corner. And he didn't right there. And if he did, that would have probably been a touchdown catch because his hand, I mean, you can see right there what the lean does to his hands. It brings his hands right into the defender where he can break that up. So that's something that he can get better at.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all called it at Harmony. We call that chop at Carthage. And he should be throwing – the other thing is he needs to throw that ball more towards that back pylon and give – because this corner shouldn't have a play on it. But because we threw it a couple yards in the end zone instead back here, we allowed that corner to play both sides.
Well, and I question the route concepts. Why is the far receiver, the X or whatever, why is – I mean, shouldn't they smash?
Yeah, he shouldn't be drifting here. He should be sitting about right here, and that puts that corner in a compromising position. But he keeps floating, which allows that corner to float.
Yep.
And if it's smashed and the corner bails, he can throw the stopper out and they score anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. I always loved if you're trying to really isolate this up, Bryles used to do those kind of where basically the receiver just turns around and backpedals to the sideline, like really put that corner in some stress, I'm getting pulled in two directions. And so anyway, that's one of the things. Yeah, I agree. And there are some passing schemes that I see, and I'm like, I don't know how they're being coached. Number one, we're not in the meetings. I'm not at practice. But there are some things that I'm kind of scratch my head at every now and then, like this. It shows up, and then again, I don't know. Maybe they have coached that kid, whoever that is up top, Ja'Day Walker.
So I'm just gonna tell you, this got coached heavy and hard on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah. You got another one for us, Seth?
Yeah, one more for Noah, and I'll fast forward past this jump ball. But you got a 6'5" guy. You'd like to think that's something we could have in the future.
Hey,
now this one,
I'll tell you a funny story. We had a 6'5" guy at Carthage. I know that surprises you. In 2013, and we're playing. I forgot who we were playing, but I remember we were playing at Lufkin, and Surratt would rip our quarterback, Blake Bogenschutz, great kid, absolutely great kid, would rip him if he would overthrow on the jump ball down on the goal line. He's like, he's 6'5", just give him a chance. Underthrow it. I don't care, just give him a chance. Next time we drive down, he underthrows it, and it gets picked off. And he's ripping the poor quarterback over, and I can hear him over the headsets. And I'm upset. I'm in the press box. I'm upset because my theory on it was, at that point, my receiver needed to come back and fight for his quarterback. He underthrew it to give you a chance, and you pretty much just stood there and watched the cornerback catch it instead of fighting and at least getting an incomplete pass. And so I let Scott rip him, whatever. And when he gets done, I said, Scott, I'm not trying to tell you how to coach, man, but I really think that was the receiver's fault, not trying to – you told him to underthrow it, give that guy a chance, and he did, and my receiver didn't come back and try to help him. He was like, well, I know that, Matt, but good grief, we got to score down there, and he decided – So
we're about to have – my third play is going to be this same conversation where – like blame can go in either direction, and both coaches are telling their kids they did wrong. You know what I mean? So this is the stop route they threw to Noah, and he breaks the tackle. And I'm pausing it right there because he catches it with one knee on the ground. And I guarantee you that Coach Klein is telling Marcel that ball was trash. And Coach, I forgot. I just went blank on the receiver coach. Coach Wiggins is telling Noah, you can't drop a knee on the ground and catch a hitch. The quarterback's guy, that was catchable. And so anyway, that was a little bit of both, a little bit of both. I remember I used to think about, he broke it. And he probably got caught maybe by one of those safeties, but we're talking about another explosive pass play. Once again, I said just two of these plays hit. We're talking about a completely different ball game for Noah's stat line and the media and the publicity, how the kid feels about it. And I hope he's mature enough on film to see, okay, I'm getting there. It's happening. Slowly but surely, I'm going to be a dude. I'm going to be a weapon. And so that's my TBD on Noah because I was not ready to write him off, but I was definitely thinking I don't know if he's going to be a factor this year at all. And this game gave me a glimmer that maybe he will be. Maybe he will be. So, anyway.
I think he is. I think everything.
Too many tools, man.
Everything you point to shows he's going to be a weapon.
So now we'll go to the ugly for the offense. Mine is self-inflicted wounds, man. Too many pre-snap penalties still. And that stuff, it's got to be driving those coaches insane because it's just dumb things that they know better. The coaches have coached better. I don't have any doubt the coaches are trying to correct it, but just pre-snap penalties are just inexcusable at this level, especially 4 games into it. And then I don't know. I heard Elko at the press conference. He said the offense or the whole team just kind of felt clunky, like it wasn't smooth. I felt that for the offense, like it was like they were taking turns on who was gonna screw up this particular play, and just couldn't get in any rhythm. The first drive was great. I mean, and those first 15, 20 plays are scripted, and those were great. But it just felt like the rest of the game, just nothing was real smooth. Really fluid, never got in a rhythm. Now, the good thing is it's always better to be able to come in on a Sunday and coach hard and get those kids to pay attention to fix things after a win. I think I don't know if me and Seth were talking or what, but there's no doubt in my mind that I feel like the prior regime would have lost this game. So the fact that we were still able to win a game, and I agree with you, Seth, there's a lot of things people don't take into consideration on this one. Bowling Green had a bye. They're a dang good team already. They nearly beat Penn State in Happy Valley 2 weeks ago. They had a bye before our game. And, we needed a little reset because I think we were starting to, read the headlines after going up there and beating Florida the way we did. So, but it's a lot better to correct all these things after a win. But, yeah, I just think too many self-inflicted wounds, too many pre-snap penalties, just got to clean that stuff up. So what was your ugly, Seth?
Yeah. So the other half of Marcel Reed, which the part of the passing game and it's a combination of everything. It's not just Marcel Reed. It's what they asked him to do. And so I guess I'm just going to call it the passing game, but he's the quarterback. So that's a big part of it. And any of the deep concepts where they were asking to throw the ball on the field, if the first option isn't available, there's no progression being made. And so with Thor, when Thor's touchdown, they had what they wanted. They schemed it up just right. They got the tight end isolated on that Tampa 2 linebacker, and he had a step, and he threw a strike. But the rest of the game, they did a pretty good job of covering your first concept on the deep throws, and it got him out of sorts. And then I saw like his mental confusion or whatever you want to call it, like his head being like the game, even though it was against Bowling Green, the game a few times looked like it felt really fast for Marcel Reed in the passing game. And then it led to some physical problems like that bad throw to Noah and some curl routes he didn't throw very well and some things. So, and there were times where it would go back away and it was like you could see the up and the down, and that's what a young player does. They go through that where you could almost see if you watch a series like, okay, his head wasn't spinning on that series. You could just tell like he felt comfortable in whatever he was doing. So that was the ugly side of it but it's a fixable ugly side. Like I said, the coaching staff has to take things off his plate. They have to go in there and figure out what does he do well? What are we wasting by repping anymore with him? And so, yeah, that's some of the things I saw. Like his version of check down is run. And that's what was great was these plays when I went through there and broke down and I kind of categorized the bad. I was like, I labeled them as bad, watched them all in a row. Then I found the good ones and I watched those all in a row. And I was looking for a trend. Like, what's the trend happening on the good plays? What's the trend happening on the bad plays? What was great was on most of the bad plays where I thought passing game wise, he didn't look great. The final result was +7 because he took off and got 7 yards, So like, and I was fired up to see that quarterback draw curl concept. I was like, I need to see more of that kind of stuff plays to his strengths. And so that's what I'm very excited to see going into the Arkansas game is what is taken off his plate? What do they emphasize going forward? And to make him to play to his strengths, like having the running back swing out to the flat on the left or the right, completely wasted. Completely. Might as well just have him stay in there and go lead block for him when he takes off or run a crossing route. He does throw the crossing routes well. Little things like that. That's not my job, but I've seen it and I'm excited to see what Klein does. And then Le'Veon Moss, as an old running back coach, his football IQ to allow that ball to get punched out late in the game was really, really scarily bad. It was something that goes against the grain of being a running back. I used to tell my guys whenever we would have a lead and we were needing to, I would tell them, you need to end the run on your terms. No dragging guys, no bulldozing. I'm going to go get the first down. I would end the run on unless it's 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1. We're going to end the run on our terms, get down and end it as soon as you know the play is coming to an end. And he didn't. And but once again, that's who he is. He's just a bullheaded bulldozer. But, there was a lot to learn from in that. I laughed at him catching that screen, which I would love to see more middle screens. And then being 3 yards short of the first down and signaling first down. That kind of cracked me up. I'm like, I have a feeling I know what coaching Le'Veon Moss is like. So, God bless Trooper Taylor. And because that's a lot to do. But he's super talented. You know what I mean? Like you gotta figure it out. That's what coaching is figuring out how to make Le'Veon Moss do all those little things right. And I think Coach Taylor's a really good coach. And but like again, you're never off. You know what I mean? He's gonna find out a new way to make you emphasize something next week you could never anticipate. I can't believe he figured out how to mess that up, and now I've got to coach the crap out of that for a week. So that kind of stuff happens with players like Le'Veon, but they're so talented. That's the beauty of that balance of if you can get to where you kind of know the kid well enough, you can almost proactively feel it coming. Like, okay, I said to him in practice, he's going to take it very literally. I got to figure out how to anyway. So I'm excited to see. That would be ugly. But that fumble, as an old running backs coach, that fumble would have made me want to just crawl in a hole.
Look, Seth, I can tell you this. We're playing Alabama in 95, and it's 24-19. We're down. We get a 3 and out. We get the ball back, and we run a little zone cut play. And we had a freshman running back in at the time, and he fumbled the ball. And when he came off the sideline, his running back coach, who was not one of the better coaches we ever had, and he's like, "Why did you fumble why did you not hold on to the ball?" And I swear to God, y'all, the kid said, "Ain't nobody told me." So running backs, you have to tell them all.
Ain't nobody told him. Ain't nobody told him, Mark. You got to tell him.
I mean, you got to tell them every. You got to be telling Le'Veon, look, it's late. Got to hang on to the ball. Ball security is number one. I mean, probably just didn't get coached. We can blame that one on the coaches. You got to tell him.
Yeah.
You got to tell him. Ain't nobody told me. I'm going to have to remember that one, Mark. All right, buddy. Mark, tell us about the good, the bad, and the ugly on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I think the run defense was really good. They came in averaging about 212 yards a game. They ran it successfully against Penn State, and we really held their run game in check. I think it was down around 89 yards or something. So the run game was good. And when you talk about winning in the SEC, winning at any level, if you can stop people's run game, you can be successful. And so I really thought that was the good. I thought the D-line is getting more and more pressure. We're getting more and more wide open looks where defensive linemen are coming free right now. We're getting picks in the back end. I think there are some things to clean up in the back end. But we have a talented secondary. I really believe this secondary is poised to do some phenomenal things. They're not there yet with all of the different I can't even say that word. With all the different concepts that they're being asked to do, they're not there yet as far as a group. But I really feel like I only have one weakness, and I'll get to that in a minute. But we've stopped the run well, and we're getting pressure on the quarterback, and we're causing turnovers. Those are all the good things. The bad, guys, I watched the film, and York does not look like a returning starter at linebacker. Man, is he bad. His eyes are bad on counter plays. The hole opens in front of him right now where he's got to go. He's in the triangle. We talk about reading the triangle. The hole opens. You get pressure right now. You got to go. He waits on that a little bit, and that puts him in a bigger space to make a tackle, and he doesn't do a good job at making plays in space. And all of that is starting to, I don't know. You watch all these recruiting gurus. We've recruited a lot of great kids. I don't know how much longer they can go with that because he looks like a lost ball in high weeds at times. He's got to get better. He's athletic enough to do it, and hopefully through film he'll start to figure it out. The other linebackers playing really well. He's not. So that was the bad, especially just watching some of that film was bad. The ugly, I'm going to put this on the offense a little bit. Sorry, but the late fumble and the block punt, man, those were both critical. They did not score on the block punt, so give the good to the defense for giving them 0 yards. They end up missing a field goal. Those were big, but we can't have those two things happen. I said the Jimbo effect. This team still has this offensive hangover, I think, from the Jimbo years in my mind. It's different scheme. It's better, but at times we just don't hit those explosive plays like we can. I think that's going to go away with time, but too often it looks familiar with the results. So I said on that, the prescription for that is take 2 clients and call me in the morning. I think that will cure that. But yeah, that was my that and the ugly obviously is York sometimes. Just regular old linebacker play. If I can coach it on film as a high school linebacker coach, you got issues if it's that obvious.
Yep. All right. So now we're going to move on. We've got our predictions that we had for this game. We'll go over that real quick and how we ended up being. My prediction for the game was 35-21. And I think if few things fall our way, I think it definitely goes that way. And my pick of the game was Terry Bussey. I thought he'd have a special teams touchdown. Unfortunately, I think some of these guys have gotten film on him, and they are punting as far away from him right now as possible. Don't blame him. Just wish maybe he could catch one with just a little bit of space to give him a chance to break one. Mark, tell us about your prediction and how it looked.
I said 34-24. I felt like we would win by 10. We were really close. I said it would be tight throughout. I watched the whole Penn State Bowling Green game. They're a good football team. They're well coached. I felt like we did the first thing I wanted us to do was to get a lead and play with the lead. And I think ultimately that's why we won the game, because we were playing with the lead and the defense had some big stops. If you take away the late fumble, it would have been a 10-point ball game. I just felt like we should have probably scored one more touchdown in that game, and then it would have been about the way I said. So we're getting better. We're getting better. Everybody but York, I think, is getting better. We're getting better. This team's starting to kind of find its identity, which means they're going to start polishing off some of those rough edges, and I think that's helping. Other than the fumble and the block punt, I think this game went about the way I thought it would go.
Okay, Seth, what did you predict and how did it turn out?
I can't remember my final prediction because I didn't write it down, but I think it was 41-24, if I remember correctly.
31-27. 31-17.
Oh, okay, 31-17. Okay, yeah. I thought, which granted the wild cards, like you mentioned, Mark, the block punt that turned into 3 yards with the short field. They got us with a reverse. I thought the defense would kind of choke them out a little bit better. And really, I know you can say outside of those things, like that, I think that's what would drive Elko crazy in that press conference afterwards. He looked like, he was about to blow a gasket. And so, because think about that, like the reverse, the block punt, and tight end busted coverage. That's what is that? 17 points right there. Just those three plays. And I know Elko prides himself on creating disruption, but also like limiting the explosive play. Like that's a big part of the Elko's defense is to make you grind it out. You're not going to be able to run the ball. We're going to make you throw the ball down the field, but no explosive plays. And so anyway, yeah, I was expecting the offense to be better than it was. And I think right now what we're seeing is like I looked up the stat, the red zone conversion rate, touchdown percentage is 60. And last year at Kansas State it was 78. So in my opinion, that's the difference we're seeing in the game. You go back to the Florida, seeing in the scores. You go back to the Florida game. That's a 40-point victory if we have one more push into the end zone versus the field goal. I know we missed 2 as well, but hypothetically, that's how many times do you touch the end zone? We're averaging getting in the end zone 2 or 3 times a game, and that needs to be 3 or 4. If we're going to hit our stride going forward. And so I thought we would get in the end zone 4 times, and we didn't. So
I'll say this.
I'm quite up to speed.
I think part of the problem is our field goal kicker is too good because Elko, as a defensive coach, kind of relies on that. It's a Scott Surratt theory. If it's hard for them to stop you on 3 plays, it's even harder on 4. Just go for some. Some of those you just got to leave the field goal kicker on the sideline where he deserves to be.
I like it.
I really have enjoyed the 4th down. Like the only one I questioned was that 4th and 8 versus Notre Dame. In that rock fight of a game where the defenses were absolutely in control. But every other time they've gone for it on 4th down, it's felt like the right and there's no pause. Like that when there was some pause, it's just like, here it is. We got it ready to go. The RPO to Bussey got the 1st down. And honestly, if you don't slip on that RPO and that little return motion, when he slips, that corner got that step on him. If he didn't slip and he was able to, I think that might have
ran through him anyway.
House that thing.
Yeah, he about ran through him anyway. But anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, now we're going to move on to the Big Bad Pigs from Arkansas. Right now they're sitting at 3-1 on the year, 1-0 in the SEC, and the one loss was at Oklahoma State, which, I mean, I think they got a little reality check this week from Utah. So, they'll probably do well in the Big 12, if you want to call it the Big 12, but a little different in the SEC. So watching film a little bit, they base out of a 4 down. They will go to a 3 down look when they're trying to bring pressure, especially on third downs. Through 3 games, they're only giving up about 80 yards on the ground, so they're defending the run really well, but they will give up some yards through the air. But on the flip side, they caused 6 interceptions through 4 games, so they'll give up some yards through the air, but they're opportunistic on that. So that you got to be smart with the ball in the air. And not a ton of sacks, only 7 sacks so far through 4 games, but they have 19 tackles for losses. So I think that goes back to that run game, them only giving up 80 yards on the ground per game on the ground. So I think it'll be interesting to see how our run heavy – I wouldn't say we're run heavy, but we definitely have committed more to the run this year than we have in the past and had more success there. It'll be interesting how that unfolds. The 2 guys that we probably need to keep an eye on are 2 transfers. Both of them transferred to Arkansas from Georgia this last summer. Jaheim Singletary is a cornerback. He's got 1 INT. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. And Xavier Sori is a linebacker, and he's got 25 tackles and 1 sack already. Both those were 5 stars, committed, went to Georgia, and for whatever reason transferred to Arkansas. So definitely want to keep an eye on those 2 guys. So that's what I saw. Seth, what are you thinking?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. I actually didn't get to watch much of their defense. I did watch a little bit of this game, and that I was too intrigued by going to see what Coach Petrino was doing on offense. And so I went and watched Arkansas's offense versus Auburn. And I've talked to some buddies. I got a group that I talked with, and we laughed about how this is 2 very similar teams, very similar game plans. I do think, if you're asking me, you've got 2 offenses that are going to rely on the quarterback run as a huge cog in the wheels. You got to choose Bobby Petrino or Colin Klein. I choose Colin Klein in that situation. You got 2 defenses, one that's trying to be good at stopping the run and maybe have been successful to some things through the air. You choose an Elko-led defense, or I don't even know who the DC is for Arkansas. I'm choosing Elko. So I think there's an edge here on the coaching side in that they are more at home in this type of game than maybe Bobby Petrino is at Arkansas, coaching with that young quarterback of his, who's a great athlete. The young quarterback at the end of the game, when I watched it, they got in the eye to run the last 2 series to try to run the clock out. And because the quarterback was limping around a little bit. While they did, it was an ugly game. There was some physicality in that Arkansas and Auburn game, just like any ugly SEC game is still going to be pretty physical. So I'm interested to see how Green's escapability, if it's 100% or if he's not quite there, because man, if it's not there, just imagine us trying to play with Marcel Reed on a bum ankle. That we're in dire straits in that situation. It's a very similar offense, so I'm interested to see what Green looks like. And so I think this is going to be. You want to talk about 2 teams that are very similar. It's going to be a dogfight, trying to run the ball and trying to suffocate each other and get after each other and make these young quarterbacks make a mistake. That's going to be what we see. That's just what I see. I mean, that Auburn game, my goodness, there was a series there where the Auburn running back busts a 60-yard run and gets the ball punched out, goes out of the back of the end zone. 2 plays later, Arkansas's throwing a pick to Auburn. 2 plays later, Auburn's throwing a pick back to Arkansas. It was pretty ugly, some stretches
I
there.
watched the 4-play series. It may have been at that time.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one team threw an interception to the other. Then the other team threw an incomplete pass. Next play threw an interception back to the original team. And then that team on the very next play threw the interception back to the other team. So 4 plays and 3 picks. So now if you listen to Hugh Freeze on his podcast, he said that if they played Arkansas 9 more times, they would win that game 9 more times. So, I love the confidence of a guy struggling, but, he probably needs to focus on what he's got going on down there. But,
Man.
Mark, what you got on the A&M defense versus Arkansas offense?
Well, Seth is like me. He's moving to the other side of the ball. So, yeah, they have a really good back. The Jackson kids averaging like 6.2 yards a carry. That's a lot. and the quarterback has 325 yards rushing. That is who they are. That is what they do. Everything is relied off of that. So, stopping the run. We stopped the run this week. It's going to be ugly for Arkansas. That's all I can say. I mean, unless they create turnovers, but hopefully, when you watch that part of the Auburn-Arkansas game, it looked like somebody had thrown a spelling bee at them. It looked like they were guys from Arkansas and Alabama trying to have a spelling bee. And so hopefully it won't get that way ugly for us. Let's don't turn the ball over. Let's stop the run. The Hogs are in trouble. Their quarterback, he's not super accurate. He's not super accurate, but everything comes from the run game and works off of that. So, again, make them one-dimensional. I can't speak today. This is what happens when you're trying to sell commercial insurance at the same time. Early in the year, they beat Arkansas Pine Bluff like 70-0, but I think the Carthage Bulldogs are favored against Arkansas Pine Bluff by 3 touchdowns this week. They're not very good. They jumped out big on Okie State, but then they fell to the Mullet Man at the end late. That's just kind of something Oklahoma State does.
That's because he's 40. He's a man and he's 40.
I think he's 60 now, but okay. It was like 20 years ago. But anyway, they beat Auburn. But Auburn gets beat more than Ray Rice's girlfriend, so that's not. I really don't care what Hugh Freeze says. I don't think they could beat them 9 times in a row. So how about Hugh? You might want to think about beating them when they're scheduled. Otherwise, you won't be in that place very long. Arkansas tends to play better in Dallas. Even they are happier in Texas than they are in Arkansas. So that always worries me with Arkansas. They play well in Dallas. But the broken record is stop the run. I will say this. Nick Scourton, he has been unbelievable on the edge. He's played unbelievable. Elko has sang his praises. But he has this tendency to like to beat his guy inside, which he can. But he's going to have to be very careful with that this week, because you cannot let this quarterback pull it and get outside of you, because this guy will hurt you if he does that. So, we'll just have to have – we're going to have better eyes, and we're going to have to tackle better at the linebacker position. Other than that, I think if we stop the run and get them off the field on third down, which we've done really well. If you look at the stats, we've been great on third down. We're going to have to continue that, and if we do, I think the Ags are going to be successful. I think it's going to be like Arkansas plays better in Dallas because they like it, but then they come up with the same result they do against A&M in years past, which is not good. They're going to go back home with a lot of shampoo and stuff from the hotel, but that's about it.
Well, I agree with you. So my prediction for this week. Now, first of all, I went back and looked. So A&M has won 9 out of the last 10 against Arkansas. We've won the last 2 against Arkansas. But the games are always super crazy and super close. So I went back and looked over the last 10 years. The average win amount is only by 8 points. So you're talking 1 score. And 2 of the games went to overtime. So it's always a crazy game. I do feel like this one's going to be about 35-17. And I think the game is close maybe in the first half because of the mobile quarterback and those type of things. I know those can cause problems. But Elko historically has done a great job of halftime adjustments. And if those need to be made, I think we come out in the second half and really start to show what we're capable of heading into the Missouri game next week, which we all know how big that game could be if we take care of business this week. So that's my prediction. Mark, what you got?
Yeah, I think it's about a 34-17. I would have said 35, but I realized that would be 7 touchdowns, and I know we're going to kick 2 field goals because we're just going to kick 2 field goals. Bond may be our best player, and that's never a good thing. But again, I think that stopping the run, our offense gets better with time. I think Marcel he's capable of so much more. And he's getting better, and he's gonna move that dimmer switch, Seth, up a little bit more. So I said if Wegman were to play, which I don't think he would, it would be like 28-24, and we'd all be like losing our minds. but the defense is going to score this week. I'm just going to say it, mark it down. The defense scores a touchdown. Again, if you remember the whole fumble, take it back, hand it to another guy that we had against Arkansas. We're going to see a crazy defensive play, and we're going to score, so that's going to help the situation. Ags win 34-17.
So I skipped a part. I did not pick my player of the game, this player of the game, because I was hard on him, but I'm going to go with Moss this week. I think Arkansas's defense against the run is good, but I feel like Moss maybe got some coaching this week. He's going to be a little more patient. I think he's going to have some long runs. Mark, who you got for player of the game? You going to go with your boy, your cornerback?
No, I'm it's kind of like that girl I met in college. She didn't last as long as I wanted her to. I've moved on to a new guy, Ratcliffe. I love this Ratcliffe guy. My goodness, dude, he does everything. He's sacking the quarterback. He's tackled for loss. He's good in the secondary. He is the guy that Elko builds defenses around, that he can move around. And so he's going to do something crazy this week, y'all. He's going to have the pick six, or he's going to have he's going to pick up a fumble off of Shamar Turner, sack, and he's going to run it back for a touchdown. The dude's going to just elevate his commodity level this week and show off in a big way. So,
Mark, I just want to confirm your wife is still working in your office, right?
Yeah, she hung around, for years. So,
all right, Seth, what do you got, boss?
Well, we're all kind of a broken record. I got 31-17. I think that Klein is taking the red zone percentage personally and is going to find a way to get that up to where we score 4 touchdowns this week and hold Arkansas to 2. And I think that Petrino is going to – you watch the Auburn game early, and he's trying to make the West Coast – he's trying to make Taylor Green throw the West Coast stuff on occasion, and he just gives up. Oh, I think if we shut down the quarterback run game and they get in the deficit, he's going to try to make Taylor Green throw that West Coast stuff that we've seen so much of over the last few years. It's just a pick waiting to happen. And so I kind of agree with Mark there. I could see a big turnover happening at some point. And I would say that I do think the player of the game is going to be Jabray Barber. Here's the reason why. I saw them come out in the first series and throw him the ball first 2 passes of the game, saying, hey, and they were trying to make it easy on Marcel. Like, Jabray is going to run out. He's going to be open. Okay, Jabray's going to run the stem the cross, and then break on the out, get him the ball. So if they're sitting in there on Sunday and you're saying, okay, we need to give our quarterback one read a lot. When it's crunch time, he needs one read or take off. Who can we rely on to get themselves open in this situation? Well, I'm going with Jabray Barber over everybody else, what I've seen so far. And I think his snap count has increased every game. And I think we're finally to the point now where it's like, okay, this kid's going to play the most snaps of any of the receivers. So if I'm thinking he's going to play the most snaps of any receivers and they trust him to get himself open for a quarterback that doesn't progress well, we need to make him the number one progression on several concepts and see if we can get himself open and throw it to him. And so I could see him having a breakout game, even though I built up Noah like crazy. I was just got to thinking about, comfort blanket situation. Maybe that's Jabray Barber. And if the offensive coordinators, if they're doing what I think they're doing, they're going to create some very easy things for Marcel to say, hey, throw it to Jabray or take off running. So use his strengths with him right there instead of going, okay, now if Jabray's not open, we got the tight end number 2, and then you're going to check it down to the back in the flat. All that's he needs 2 max, and then let him go play. And then I like Jabray.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our predictions for the week. I did another giveaway this week. We only had 4 score predictions. So if you're listening to this, go to my Rollo Hallsville Facebook page. I'll post this podcast. And underneath it, if you'll post my prediction and what your prediction is, you'll be entered to win. I've given away a Texas Roadhouse gift card. Now I'm going to give away a Bubba's 33. So I'm going to reach in here, not looking, pull out this name, and let's see what we got here. Oh, Michael Resendez. Now, let me tell you about Michael before we get off this. If your kids ever get into show pigs like my kids have, Michael is your guy. That dude knows every trick in the book and has helped us have a lot of success. So reach out to him. But that's our winner for the week. And I'll be sending him a Bubba's 33 gift card. Mark, what do you need?
Are we talking about show pigs on Arkansas week? Come on,
man. Yeah, that's all. I mean, bacon. It's all bacon, brother. It's all bacon. Hey, this is Matt Palmer from Hallsville. Gig 'em, and let's go get us a big win in Dallas this week.
There you go.
Hey, Mark, I think you should write Petrino a motorcycle
Whatever
policy.
it comes
There you go.
Yeah, my carriers are not having that.
Tracy
All right, guys.
Amigos,
Adios.
former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.